is not an act of God. This is, to me, initially after hearing from January 1 all the explanations and this hearing, this is, Mr. Chairman, an act of men of incompetence and men of gross negligence. I think Secretary Bautista that Tamayo should take a leave of absence and the other deputy generals. We sacrificed the 65 million Filipinos and foreigners on that day, 700 flights, and nobody takes responsibility. Secretary, may primo.
Hindi bababa sa 100 milyong piso ang nawala sa kita ng bansa mula sa turismo dahil sa airspace shutdown kahapon.
361 na domestic at international flights ang nakansela o na-divert sa mga airports sa ibang bansa.
Now it came out. We never heard this. 13 billion, can we confirm from SK Tamayo? 13 billion was spent on January 5. 13 billion emergency purchase. You know, Mr. Chairman, when we talk about emergency purchases, that is where the problem lies. Mr. Chair, since the pinpointed agency who is responsible for the ATS, we're not saying that they had competence or they had gross negligence. But is it, I would like to ask now, Secretary Tamayo and Secretary Bautista, don't you think DG Tamayo should take a leave of absence together with the officials of CAAP to afford the investigating body with independence, and there will be, in other words, there will be no stones unturned. We cannot have the responsible official stay there while there is an investigation. We don't want a whitewash. We want a real investigation where we set aside temporarily those who were managing the ATS and this air traffic system. Well, don't you agree, Secretary? This is my question to Secretary Bautista. In all of these hearings, for the sake of transparency, for the sake of non-interference by incumbent officials to get an independent probe by the committees that will form by Secretary Bautista, don't you think, Secretary Bautista, that Secretary Tamayo should take a leave of absence and the other deputy generals? Mr. Chairman, this is a situation, I have been hearing all of this, and this is a situation where those responsible could not be there in office. They should be quite at the same time, just have a leave of absence. I'm not calling for the resignation of our Director General, but in fact, honor would show there's anything left with him is to resign. But I'm not going to call that. My goodness, Mr. Chairman, we sacrificed the 65 million Filipinos and foreigners on that day, 700 flights, and nobody takes responsibility. Secretary, my primo, you know, this is the body directly in charge of that. And then we're going around UPS, circuit breaker, upsurge of the electric supply. We are therefore saying, let us have an independent body, but meantime, so that the records will be intact. What has happened, there'll be no one that comes from CAAP who will still be there in office to be able to hide evidence. I call therefore for the Secretary to make sure that our DG takes a leave of absence up and until there will be a definitive report of the investigation by technical people, by everyone in the know. We congressmen are not technical, but we can see what is happening now. Different theory of the case. UPS, now we have the circuit breaker. Probably in a week's time, another pointed reason. So may I hear from our primo, Jimmy Bautista.
Through the chair. Thank you, Congressman Rodriguez. Right now, we are conducting, CAAP is conducting fact-finding. No? And when we have all these documents, the investigating body will continue the process, no? And we will consider asking those people involved to take a leave of absence, no?
Thank you very much, Secretary. That will be the best thing to do. We don't have, we cannot have people still be in their position when there's an investigation. In law, we call it, we have to preserve evidence. Everything should be preserved, and nobody who is in that agency, which is the focus of the investigation, should be there to allow an independent probe of this particular fiasco on January 1. So that is, thank you for considering it, Mr. Secretary, because that will be what the Filipino nation would want, that all those who would, I'm not saying that they are, who are possible violators of gross negligence and incompetence should not be present in those investigations. My second point, Mr. Chairman, I thank the Secretary for that. And I hope Iski Tamayo will hand his leave of absence only. Because if it will come up that really it is, I heard about this guy who said force majeure. It cannot be force majeure. This is not an act of God. This is, to me, initially after hearing from January 1 all the explanations and this hearing, this is, Mr. Chairman, an act of men of incompetence and men of gross negligence. Until proven, I would like to just go on that and be following the investigation by the good Secretary. I'm just expressing my thoughts after considering everything, but we will therefore look and be able to be ready to have this investigation. Next question to DG Tamayo. Now it came out. We never heard this. 13 billion, can we confirm from SK Tamayo? 13 billion was spent on January 5 when there were no more issues on the UPS. It is not at fault. It is okay. And then we spend, I think I heard, to UPS, 13 billion emergency purchase. Mr. Chairman, when you talk about emergency purchases, that is where the problem lies. Because, we heard also in the previous administration, during the COVID-19, emergency purchases. So therefore, may I therefore find out, can you give us the details, DG Tamayo? How much is the amount? What is the content of the agreement? Who signed the agreement and confirmed it is 13 billion? Who signed? Who are the parties to this particular purchase, which we never knew?
Your Honor, for clarification, your question is about the 13 billion purchase? 13 million.
Yes.
Or 30 million purchase?
Yes. We know the details of that. Who signed this agreement? We already know that emergency purchase. Who signed this agreement from the CAAP?
Through the chair, sir. As far as the emergency purchase of the UPS amounting to 13 million, this underwent the proper process, proper bidding. And so after all the processes were done, I take responsibility. I was the one who signed it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, it is not 13 million, it is billion, correct? Can you correct me, Mr. Tamayo, 13 million or 13 billion?
13 million, sir, for the UPS.
13 million.
Yes, sir.
Million, okay. Who signed for this agreement? Despite the fact that there's already a determination that there is no need to replace this because they're in order. Who signed the agreement? Can we know publicly?
Yes, sir. If I may correct my original statement, there was an approval as far as our back is concerned because this underwent public bidding.
Mr. Tamayo, just answer my question. In Congress, we want direct answers. Who signed this? So this is not 13 billion, only 13 million. Who signed this particular contract? Who?
The CAAP boxer, wala pa namang contract. Bids and awards.
But you have already made a purchase, correct? How can you have a purchase when there is no award? It's getting muddier and muddier, Mr. Chairman. We do not get any more. Let us have the correct account on this.
Kong Rufus,
Maybe no.
with your indulgence, Kong Rufus, may I?
Yes, please, my chairman, please proceed.
Yung 13 billion would be the proposal to purchase a new CNS ATM system. It would, in one of the reports, 13 billion would be the approximated amount. Yung 13 million, yun po yung pinambili ng UPS. So, which was conducted through an emergency purchase. So, yun po ang difference ng dalawa, Kong Rufus.
13 billion has not been expended. The 13B.
13 billion, wala pa. They're still conducting a feasibility study on the matter.
Okay, can we get that directly from the Director General? Please give us the difference between the 13 billion and the 13 million as already, so that we can clearly distinguish the two, and which of them had already been spent and which of them are under process.